Welcome to Global Village. Today is we have our special episode 2016 to 2017. We have two great guests. We have our great MB, Mr. Martin Schultz. Welcome to the program, Mr. Martin. And we have our great Mayor, Barry Morshida. Here we have our co-host again, Rochelle.
I'm Rochelle Gillespie. I work for SPEC, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you very much. Here you go.
All right, so Barry, welcome.
Well, nice to see you, Rochelle.
Nice to see you. Tell me about yourself.
Well, I born and raised in the area. Been here my whole life, more or less, except to go away to school. Married to my wife, Jean. I have two daughters. One lives here in Brooks, a teacher on maternity leave. I have my first grandchild, 7 months old, and I have a daughter in Calgary. And yeah, love the community, always have.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you used to be a principal. That's yeah. Okay.
Well, it's great to be here, and as you say previously, that I had the opportunity to be a mayor in this community, and was glad to do the shows with you at that time. And it's great to be here with the current mayor of City of Brooks.
Yeah.
Great mayor, and really appreciate what he does in the community. So, pleasure to be here on this program with you and the mayor of City of Brooks in the County of Newell, in the County of Newell building.
There you go.
Which is part of the legacy that we have here as we work together with our municipal partners.
Mm-hmm.
So currently as an MP, I just have 47 other municipalities that I get to work with in a large constituency. But it's great to be back here today. Last night we had an municipal meeting with all the municipalities in the County of Newell and part of the County of Newell. And so a little bit about me in the sense of that. Before that, I've lived in this area for about 40 years. I chose to move here. One of the few people that my wife and I looked at places to live, and we said Brooks is a place that we would like to live. And it's been a community for us that we've really enjoyed, raised a family here, and proud to be part of this area.
And we are very honored to have you as our MB.
Thank you. Privilege.
And you were three-term mayor.
Right.
Right?
City of Brooks, right.
Yeah, City of Brooks, yeah. We hope our current mayor will take that path to be three-term.
Well, one more term anyway. We're hoping.
Yeah.
So Barry, Brooks has some hidden gems. Can you tell us about why people would come to visit Brooks?
Well, you know what? As far as a visitation goes, yeah, there are some great places. Within the city, we have unbelievable facilities. I mean, whether it's the Leisure Center, our new upgraded Leisure Center, the Ball Diamonds, and we have some incredible shopping and shops downtown. There's a real great uniqueness to the city of Brooks. And then we have some really great attractions, obviously, outside. We have Lake Newell, we have the Aqueduct, we have Dinosaur Provincial Park, a World Heritage Site, the Red Roof Studio, and it just seems to be the list keeps growing, that there's more and more things being uncovered. It's just a very, very unique place to come and visit. So, and beyond that, we have this great multicultural society maturing in Brooks, and really becoming an integral part of the community, and learning from each other. And I think we're just a fine example for people to come and see how it works.
Mm-hmm.
What is the role of the MB, federal MB, and responsibilities in the federal government? What are the roles?
The role of the MP is much similar to any elected person, that you're elected to represent the people who are in that geographic area they're elected. Whether it's school, municipality, provincial, or federal, it's the same context that you are elected to represent all of the people and their interests in that specific area.
In federal level?
At the federal level. So Barry, as a mayor, he does those municipal things. I work at the federal ones. But there's a lot of cross connection between them, that it can be issues that are municipal, but they affect people's lives, and if you can direct them to where they need to go to get those answers, you may not be at a federal issue, but you can help get people to the doors they need to get to. So it's not just dealing with the federal level, it's dealing with your constituents and what their issue is, or what their challenges are, and being able to help them, whether it's your specific or direct them to where they can receive information or what they're looking for.
Thank you very much.
And I just add to that a little bit. Because Martin makes such an effort to know what's going on in the area, makes him a very good representative for us at that federal level. You know, without knowing what's going on in the community, you can't translate and communicate that to people who make decisions that change things for you. So, you know, Martin makes a really good effort to know what's going on, and that is a huge benefit. I know I get to rely on him a lot for advice and like you said, opening doors and trying to find pathways to better things for our citizens. So it does make a big difference when you're that involved, for sure.
Well, thank you for the compliment, and I think that's what I believe is the most important role, is to know what's going on in your community. And as a mayor, that's sort of, it was important to know all the aspects, as you know, Ahmed, and with FCSS getting out and finding out. The biggest challenge for me with the riding the size it is you can really feel attached to your community when you're living in it, because you can get to things. I spend more time driving to places than I actually do in the communities. That's a frustration that I have. Because I don't feel I have that connection that I used to have as a mayor to my community, because there's so many different communities out there. And so the size, it's bigger than New Brunswick, it's just that challenge, which makes it more difficult to do what I believe is important to do.
That's great to hear.
So Barry, with the economic downturn, has that had any impact on the operations of the city?
So specifically on the operations, it has. I mean, last year we got a lot of our stuff done. We managed to stay on budget and get all the work done we needed to do. But going forward, it certainly made a difference. You know, we have a new budget that'll be passed on the 16th of January, and we think people will be very very happy with the effort that's been put in. So we had to take a realization of what's happening, the costs that people are faced with, and some of the economic circumstances. And I think that's how it's changed it. We've got to think a little bit differently about how we spend and how much we spend, and I think that's been reflected in our operations, certainly going forward.
Great, and I think most organizations and businesses in Brooks are thinking the same way.
For sure.
Yeah.
I know, you know, we can't not deal with it now, because if we don't, we won't be in a good position as things get better. So I think corporately we've managed to do that, and certainly businesses and other agencies in the city that we deal with have certainly taken that on. And I think as things get better, we'll be in a very good position to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Martin, is there any chance that the temporary foreign worker program or a different model that the government might be coming in the loop 2017? That
we had an announcement that was made. A minister made the announcement, so we saw the written in the news of what it was to do with temporary foreign workers, and we haven't got the details yet. But the announcement was that the 4-year term. Yeah. That it was 4 and 4, like you were here for 4 years, went home for 4 years before you could reapply to come back, or a company could recruit you to come back. So they've now said that 4-year term is going to be eliminated, that you can stay beyond that limit is gone. Now, if you're in industries that train staff, and it's a significant training that goes on, this is a real important piece. And I think of the lakeside, for example, who has very skilled employees, and they want to keep them there. And when they had to send them home at 4 years, some of the other agricultural sectors had the same thing, that they were short of employees, and to send home to go through the recruiting, the expense, and retraining was a real challenge. This, I think, is a positive step in the sense if that time limit then is changed.
So they can apply as before. They can apply to stay longer, be part of the community.
Now that we don't know the details, but when they say that we're removing that 4-year limit, we're not sure how it works. Okay. But the first piece that we saw in the media
was 4 and 4.
Had been 4 and 4, and they're going to eliminate that.
That's a good news.
Yeah, I would, for business people that we know in the community.
Yeah.
There was a challenge of finding enough staff. And so they depended on temporary foreign workers, but when that 4-year limit came in, it really was a problem for them.
Because it takes time and investment and all that stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. MB.
So Switching over a little bit to families, the elderly, veterans, the most affected, how is the city going to help those demographics?
Well, I think there's two things. One thing is that even though we've had the downturn, as far as our services go, they have not changed. We have not pulled back on services. So that's the regular city services that we provide to everybody, but they benefit from. The other thing too is that individual agencies have stepped up. I know that through seniors and through the Newell Foundation, we're still looking at expanding our housing options for seniors, so that continues to happen. And then specifically when it comes to like aid and help, the Community Response Committee received $150,000 from the city in February. It received another 40 here in November, and we've asked the community to match that, and that's going very well. You know, we've had some fundraisers, we've had people step up and donate, so that's been really good. I believe the county in their budget has set aside some money for that. So on that specific basis, and I know that goes through SPEC as the one-door place, that's been very helpful for people. And you know, we'll continue to monitor that. And you know, our goal between the food bank and all the other agencies is to make sure that people don't get lost in the shuffle. We know that in the system there's a lot of gaps, and we're hoping that that helps them out. So between not pulling back on the services we provide and trying to provide some financial resource for agencies to make sure they can take care of people, hopefully we're catching a majority of the people before they get in real trouble.
And nobody falls through the cracks.
That's right.
Right.
I think that was identified in the last time when we had a crisis, when the Community Response Committee was set up a few years ago, was that while there were provincial and federal help, there were gaps in between that needed to be filled, and I think that model of that Community Response Committee has done very well to fill in those gaps.
And is the YAP Pass part of the Youth Pass program? Is that through the city, or?
Yeah, that is through the city.
Okay.
Yeah, that was brought through our Recreation Board and our Choose Well Committee, and we've actually looked at how that works. We get really good pickup on that, you know, for that age group of kids that find the space and places to do that where money's not a barrier. And it really works well. The facility's there, it might as well be used. It's been a really, really good program.
It has, and I wanted to compliment you on that in the city, because it has been just a great benefit, I know, for my teenagers. So,
for sure.
Yeah.
It's great to hear.
When you mentioned that, you know, out of a crisis came that community resource mechanism, and we pulled it together under that crisis. We were only a facilitator. The groups that came together really made this thing work. And to have it continuing to work on, this doesn't happen anywhere else. When we talk about, and me at a different level when it occurred, when we did there, it isn't in other communities. They have their emergency plans when the train falls off the tracks and those kinds of things, but they don't have this one on the other side. So as it continues and works with it, for a different situation, the people know how it works, they come together, they get things done. And when you mentioned that youth program, I remember when it came to council, our recreation staff came because they were saying they would like to try it for one grade level. The council said, why don't we expand that? And the recreation people said, you serious?
And it'd be in 7, 8, 9, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think FCSS did a good job coordinating all this community response
provincially on the program.
Yeah.
And I know I've been contacted since, particularly with the last downturn, with other municipalities attempting to do it.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot of will. And like Martin said, being at that very first meeting when the agencies all said, we're going to do this to make the community be able to respond quicker and more effectively and not kind of step over each other but work together. It's just an amazing experience and quite a good model, and something we love to brag about when I talk about Brooks is that coming together for sure.
And especially came during the 2011 or 2010, 2013, I think, Excel problem.
Yeah, that's where it came from.
Excel problem.
Yeah.
And FCSS was the natural facilitator to work in. Really made a difference through FCSS.
Yeah, Lynn did a great job for that, Okay, sure. Can you tell us the overall situation of the cattle industry and effect of the TB that they found in, I think, Saskatchewan or Alberta, that was...
How many days have you got? The TB bovine crisis for 50 herds, 34 families, somewhere in those neighborhood.
Yeah.
Has been absolutely stressful, brutal, economic, all the words you would describe a family business in total crisis. Because they're out on a rangeland area, not in a community, people have a hard time seeing them. But those family businesses have really had a challenge for 3 months. There's an industry where you get one payday a year, and they didn't get that payday this year. And they are still in extreme stressful situations of trying to sort it out, because you're dealing with a federal agency, inspections, regulations, cattle organizations, the provincial, finally getting some recognition. There needs to be something different here. There was no program that existed to fix this situation or to alleviate it, to help it. So finally there is a program, but again, that gets into a lot of different paperwork, a lot of processing, and to resolution. So we have 50, or maybe there's been reduced in number that are quarantined slightly from that 50 number. But my fear is the cattle industry as a whole, because this is what settled this area was from settlers. I mean, sure, the indigenous people understand we're here before that, and that's fine. But as this built up, it was the cattle industry was the basis of its starting.
Yeah.
And so we have large generational business family, and we're talking 100-year-old ranching families, genetic herds of long standing that have been developed. That these are not just inanimate objects in a business of widgets. These are animals that are part of their lives. There's a connection to it. It's a very emotional, tough situation that these families and these family businesses are working through. It's tough out there.
It's very nice to find out the success and they have achieved and the difficulties they face as this program coming now.
We all want safe food. The ranchers are the first ones to want to provide a safe product to market.
Yeah.
This is not about anybody resisting doing something that isn't safe. They're the first frontline people who want their animals to be healthy.
Yeah.
They want their product to be the best in the world,
Yeah.
and they work very hard to get there. So it's nothing to do about resisting being safe, because that's what they want to be, is the best in the world and the best product out there, and they produce it.
So Barry, this question comes from Scott, who is a Brooks resident, and he wanted to know if there's any way that you had thought about putting out congratulations for births or anniversaries, sort of a letter of congratulations.
So currently, yeah, that's a good question. So currently, we do acknowledge significant anniversaries and significant birthdays. We do that as a course of action. But I know that we would always do it upon a request. So if someone was interested in that, we'd be happy to do that. And the city always is interested. We've looked at the process of kind of doing it all the time, but you know, there were 450 births last year. So or the year before, it gets to be a significant issue. So for people that are certainly interested and are involved, all they have to do is call the office, talk to Stacy, get them fixed up.
Oh, that's great.
You bet.
What are the roles of the senators in the federal level? I don't know.
Another good question.
There you go.
Well,
Actually, this came from one of the community members in Brooks.
so the senators are appointed, so they're not elected. They are very regionally represented, so there's so many senators from each province.
Yeah.
In a region. So their function was to be a representative of a geographic area when the Constitution was originally built. They do not have the power that elected people do. So any bill that Parliament passes goes to the Senate. They review it. They can make amendments to it, but they can't have any amendments to do with financial pieces. But they can make amendments, they can pass amendments to any legislation that comes their way that is passed in the House. Then it returns to the House if they've made amendments. If there's no amendments are made, then it is passed by them and moves on to become law. So they provide the function, as often said, a sober second thought.
Advices, sort of advices.
Advice further, they could make amendments, they can bring witnesses, they can discuss it, so it gets another forum for it to be discussed. The media can cover that, there's public, they have committees, they meet as a whole, so it's another forum for a piece of legislation. So they may not make any amendments to it, but the discussion would happen, there's more insight, there could be more witnesses to discuss that piece of legislation. If they do make amendments, which they have, then it can come back to the House, then we get to re-debate what they've done to it, because that comes back for a final reading. So that is their role in our particular government. And they are very interested people in providing that voice and have that second look at legislation.
Wow.
So Barry, this is a question from Selma, who's in grade 6 at Griffin Park School. She wants to know how she can invite you to visit her at the school, or how can anyone get you on their schedule?
Oh, okay. Well, when it comes to scheduling, Stacy's the lady to call.
Okay.
But you know, we love making time to go to schools and to go to those kinds of things. This kind of speaks to the whole thing when we do these kinds of shows, or when we do these, is making sure people are aware of what's going on. So we love the opportunity. So if Selma wants to call Stacy or email me or send me a text, welcome to do it. My contact information is all on the website, and I do answer text messages, and you know, I'm relatively good with the social media stuff. So yeah, no, she can invite us. We'd be happy to attend anything.
Excellent.
Yeah, I always enjoy it. It's always a lot of fun.
Yeah, nice break.
And the grade 6 study municipal government, and over the
exactly.
years we've often had lots of the grade 6 classes come for a visit to City Hall. And we also do a grade 6 council.
That's right. Yeah, once a year we have. We had a really good one
Right.
last year.
Yeah.
And what usually happens out of those, there's something that comes, usually one thing that comes out of those, we go, let's try that, figure it out. They come up with some ideas, and council usually comes, some of the councilors are there, and we get the results from their meeting and what they talked about.
Yeah,
and,
for sure. And it's a new perspective. We don't get
Yeah.
to hear that perspective at
Yeah.
council regularly. So like Martin said, there's always something that comes out of it, or a little
Yeah.
change in the way we do things. So
Yeah.
it's very valuable.
What would you like to achieve in 2017, and what's your 2017 resolution, and what message do you have for the viewers of the program?
I'm going to do two things here. One, it's 2017, and we have some of the most iconic buildings that exist in our country in Ottawa. And it's 2017. After 2017, they will be closed for restoration for a minimum of 10 years. So I'm encouraging, I know that there's tough economic times, I understand that. But if you have any possibility of wanting to visit your capital city, it's your capital city, these are your buildings. Yeah. If it's all possible, come visit them, because it'll be many, many years before they're open again. So come and see your buildings. They're phenomenal, they're beautiful, and they're yours. You should come visit your buildings. If you have an opportunity with your family, come visit them. So, and we are happy to work with anybody that's coming to visit. We will do tours. We can do, there's the official tours, but we can do a better tour. Yeah. And I can do them, my staff does them.
I've got the benefit of having a very special tour. I can tell you, if you get the chance to go on one with Martin, you get to see things that you don't get to see on the public one. That's for sure.
So from that point of view, it's 2017. It's 150. In your community, if you're doing a 150 celebration, get involved, because I think there's, as I heard last night, one community, they're looking at expanding it. What they usually do in one day, they're going to be more activities. I think we're going to be seeing that. So it's Canada 150. I'm an old guy. I remember Canada 100, and it was a party, I'll tell you. And anybody that was old enough to remember that, you remember the things that happened in Canada 100, our centennial year. So I think there'll be a lot of things. Get involved in your community and celebrate those things. So the last thing I will push, though, is a program called Encounters with Canada. This is a program for high school students. It's a program that goes about 28 different weeks of the year. And for about $500 for an Alberta high school student, you get transportation to Ottawa, you get accommodation, you get your meals, and a tremendous program. and it is phenomenal. We've had about 10 to 12 students out of this area go on a yearly basis, and it is a phenomenal experience they get. So if you've got a teenage child in your house, if you know somebody, all you have to do is type Encounters with Canada, and it'll come up, and it's a tremendous opportunity for our youth to see and experience part of their government and learn about things about their country, because there'll be 100 to 150 students from around the country. They quota it, so it's mixed kids from across the country, and it really gives students an experience about their country that's phenomenal. So there's my sales pitch for you.
There you go. I'm going to send our teenager to Ottawa
Great.
through that program.
Super.
That's great. And I think, Martin, you've always said it's kind of always seems to be a little bit undersubscribed, right?
Right.
There's always space, so
Yep.
encourage people to do
I
it.
actually went. My husband is a teacher, and he took students to that program in Ottawa. So I tagged along.
Yeah.
So I got to come to some of the opportunities of education for Parliament. It was very good, very good experience. Yeah.
Super.
So Barry, just quickly, I
Yep.
just want to ask, how can someone arrange to appear at a council meeting?
Again, it's really simple. All they have to do is give us notice. They just
Okay.
have to let us know that they want to appear, and we make space for them.
Right.
Yeah, and of course, people can always just attend if they want to just attend in terms of just seeing what's going on. All you do is show up on meeting dates, and they're always publicized in the paper or online or on our Facebook page. Those are always on there. So if you want to speak or make a presentation, you just have to let us know, and we slot a spot in for you.
Okay, great. And then this last question will go together. So first of all, what is sort of the vision for the city for 2017? And any resolutions for you?
You know what? I avoid personal resolutions. I'll answer that question before, because I find that if I ease my way into a new thing, I'm better off than saying the drop dead day is January
Yes.
1st. I feel defeated on January 2nd. So I tend to try to kind of work it through the whole year. So that's the one part. And then for the city, I think you know, it's just to build on what we have. Lots of times people measure success by an event or a building being built or something being constructed or erected or whatever. But you know what, I like to look at it in a little bigger terms. I like to look at our city as a place where great things happen when they need to happen. When people are called to serve, when they're called to contribute, when they're called to help others, it does happen. And that's how I like to kind of measure success. When people say, what do you love about Brooks? You're never alone in Brooks. You know, even as it's grown, and I've lived here all my life, and I was only a year old when Canada turned 100. But not that I'm digging at you, Martin, not that I'm digging at you. But that's how I like to measure it. I like to measure it when I meet new people and old people who felt that the community kind of rallied around them, or they looked with admiration at something we had done, and at the end of the year that we're in a better place, that we feel good about living here, and more people feel good about living here. That's how I think the vision for Brooks is. We have really set ourselves on a good track to attract people and families, to make this a great place to live and work. And you know, that's how I see the vision continuing going. I think it's something we've held on to over a several year period, and I think it's something we just continue to hang on to and continue to work towards.